Dayo Adedayo in the house.
Thank you.
Today he's dressed in an African attire. Last week it was all English. So what has informed this? You want to really Africanize the show tonight, I suppose?
Nigerianize the show.
Nigerianize the show. That's good, that's good, that's good. So, last week we talked about photography, the art of photography.
That's
We
right.
talked about Nigeria being a country with beautiful, beautiful landscape, beautiful endowments that we Nigerians have not appreciated over the years.
That's right.
So now tell us, what informed your going into this project? Going into the project of discovering Nigeria and telling this Nigerian story in pictures.
Before the first edition of my book 6 years ago, there is no pictorial book on Nigeria. You will struggle. Then not just that again, all the visuals representation of Nigeria is not the country that I grew up in. You know, it doesn't represent me, and that was what prompted me to say, okay, as a trained photographer, let me show the rest of the world what my country really looks like, and that is what prompted me to do the project.
Okay, so if I ask you this straight question, what are those things that strike you about Nigeria?
The first thing is being a black man. We are the largest black population in the world. Generally, black people are very forgiving. Nigerians are very warm people, very receptive, and most importantly, when you marry into them from outside, they treat you much more better than their own. Even intertribal marriages, they treat spouses out of their tribes much more better than their own. And most importantly, we have so many historical things, artifacts, monuments, mountains, rocks, lakes, all over the country that nobody talks about. If you see the Statue of Liberty now, you know you are in New York. If you see London Bridge or Tower Bridge, you know you are in the United Kingdom. You know, if you see the Eiffel Tower, you know you are in Paris. What do we see of Nigeria globally that someone will say, oh, this is Nigeria? At the moment, we have nothing to show to the rest of the world. And that is part of the reasons why I said, okay, let me start this project. I could be the John the Baptist. The messiahs or the messiah are still coming behind me, who are going to take it much more better and further than where I have been.
And so if we even want to put an identity to Nigeria, given your exploration and your adventurous trip around the country, what in your opinion or in your own impression should be that landmark thing or identity that Nigerians can key into?
There is a rock in Plateau State, in Riom to be precise, Riom Rock. It's been there for millions of years. And it's about about 5 rocks on top of each other. And there's a tiny bit, the little rock, resting on the other 4. To me, that is the Nigerian story. People will always say, Nigeria is going to break up, something is going to happen, things will happen, and not all of a sudden, nothing will happen, and we'll start all over again. That Riom Rock, to me, symbolizes Nigeria as it is. As fragile as Nigeria is, nothing is going to happen to Nigeria. Nothing. We're still going to be together in the next 1,000 years. There might be constitutional changes here and there, political movement from here to there, but as far as I'm concerned, we are one country. Because why? There is a lot of, what is it called, between us. The movement is so fluid. Is it the Igbos from the east that will leave Nigeria? They will be the greatest loser. One, the east is landlocked. The amount of people living outside the Igbos, living outside the southeastern part of Nigeria, is much more than those who live inside. Abuja, the federal capital, 70 to 75% of Abuja is owned by the Igbos. Lagos, I would say 30 to 45% is owned by the Igbos. Will you say you're going to have a country and now be on your own? Nobody will allow you to take those assets away. So you start all over again. Not just start alone. There are so many businesses, you know. No, none of us can live alone. Neither the northerners, the southerners, and if you go into the geopolitical zones, the 6 geopolitical zones we have, there is beauty in our culture. There is beauty in our diversity. For someone like me who grew up in the southern part of the country, which has never been to the north up until 2005, I was dazzled by the time I got to Jos. For 30 minutes, I was just jumping up and down in Riom. The vastness, the vegetation, the weather, you know, and for me, those are the things we need to celebrate in Nigeria. Let us know each other. My first time flying over the Niger Delta, I was just saying to myself, we need leaders with visions, people who can see 100 years ahead of them to say, let's put things together, not people who are looking for pecuniary gains. You know, people go into government these days for themselves.
Okay. Now, you just talked about Nigeria being, you know, it's like Nigeria and Nigerians. We're in one marriage till death do us part.
That's right.
That's your submission.
That's right.
Now, you talked about the statistics. Where did you get your statistics? Where did you get your figures from?
I've been fortunate. Since the creation of Nigeria, I doubt whether we have up to 1 million people who have traversed the length and breadth of Nigeria. Aside from being a photographer, I'm a student of politics and a student of history. You know, I read a lot, both contemporary and ancient histories, and I see beyond the lens. You know, it's not just taking pictures. You look at gatherings of people, creative people. The way we reason is completely different from. We are no different from engineers. You know, who's trying to say, okay, this will happen. It's when you work in the creative industry, the way you look at the society is completely different. My statistics are from books that I've read, things that I've seen. I watch a lot of documentaries. I'm not a social person.
So, in the course of your sojourn around Nigeria, what are those striking things, pictures, areas that has really caught through your heart?
First, before those things, there is one thing that unifies the whole country. There is a food that unifies the whole of Nigeria, which I wasn't aware of until when I started this project. Pounded yam is eaten all across the country. But coming straight to your question, the most fascinating place in Nigeria to me, everything is subjective in life, is the Mambila Plateau. It's beautiful, splendid, fascinating.
Mesmerizing.
I mean, you just stand there. There is no way any picture will be able to tell the story of Mambila Plateau. You just have to go there to experience it. So, on the list of things every Nigerian should see before they die, I'll put Mambila Plateau on number 1.
That's okay. Let's look at 10. 10 places Nigerians must visit before they say, God, please take me home.
Number 1, Mambila Plateau.
Okay.
Number 2, Riom Rock in Plateau.
Okay.
In Jos. That's Plateau State.
Mambila
Plateau.
You have to tell the location so that they'll follow.
Mambila Plateau is in Adamawa and Saudana local government in Taraba State.
Okay.
Riom Rock is in Riom, Plateau State. Number 3, Zuma Rock in Niger State. Number 4, you've put me on the spot now. I'm trying to get everything.
Yes.
Number 4 is the confluence in Lokoja from Pataba Hill. That to me is quite philosophical about human beings. You know, we are like water.
We always meet.
You know, Benue is from Cameroon. Niger is from Ivory Coast, meeting in Nigeria in Lokoja, then flowing down. Number 5 is Bonny in River State, Bonny Island. Beautiful. I wonder why River State government haven't had a resort, holiday resort over there. Number 6 is Obudu, man, that everybody is talking about. To me, because of the hype, that was why I went to Obudu. But Mambila beats Obudu.
Can you imagine? In fact, some people will be angry that you're putting Obudu at number 6 on your table.
Yes, and that is why I really appreciate, and every time I see the picture of the former governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke, I always doff my hat to him. I see no reason why that guy is not in government today.
Well, okay, let's leave politics out of it.
Okay, number 7 is Ekiti State. That is in what is it called? The hot and cold, the warm and cold spring in Ekiti.
Hot and cold spring in Ekiti. When you got there, what was it like? How did it make you feel?
Just nature. Nature is wonderful.
The mystique of nature, right?
Yeah, the cold water coming from a different point entirely, the warm water coming from another source, and guess what? It's just like a circle meeting. No different from the confluence, Niger and Benue meeting at the point, but the warm water dominates the cold water. Then number 8 is Ohun waterfall in Enugu State. Spectacular. You will walk about 45 minutes from the beginning of the cave before you get to the end of it, where you have the majestic waterfall dropping down.
Funny enough, people don't really talk about that cave. It's not really out there.
No, it's not. Just like Nigeria is the best kept secret. In terms of tourism, in terms of business, we are the best kept secret. Unfortunately, we dwell too much on things that are inconsequential. You know, even though tourism is intergovernment, you can't do tourism without security. You can't do tourism without education. You know, so you can't do tourism without infrastructures. But those things are there. They're there before us, and they're going to be there after us. So that is money. Unlike oil and gas, they have expiry date. At a certain point, it's not going to work. Today, there is a lot of technology going into water and gas and electricity to power vehicles, engines generally. And in the next 10 years, I could see oil being useless.
Can you describe your home for us? Let's let our imaginative mind travel.
You work from the monastery because it has been taken over by a monastery, Catholic monastery in Enugu State. They are the one that maintains the place and control the place because they believe it has some healing powers. From there, you start descending down into the primary forest, and that takes about 30 minutes or more. You know, going down is okay. Then you now got to the point. You cross some gorges, very little gorges, but of course you have to wear comfortable shoes. Don't use the body cream. Don't use what is it called? Don't use deodorant, perfume. Once you're going into the forest, those are the rules actually. Otherwise, bees or insects will be following you all over the place. So you have to spend like animals. You know, you attract insects.
You go back to creation.
Yeah, you go back to creation. Otherwise, you attract insects. So those are the rules. So when I'm working, those things are out completely.
Okay.
If possible,
don't even take your bath with soap.
No. Don't use scented soap when you're having your bath. Otherwise, they have more senses than us.
They can perceive from a distance. And they will come after you.
They will come after you. So you cross some little streams. So trainer, slippery shoes, 0. Because by the time you get it to the cave itself, you have to take everything off.
Okay. Because
there is a stream coming, and by the time you get there, you start on a fine sand, you know, massaging your, what is it called? under your feet, you know, and you walk through. As you go further, it turns into stones. Then it becomes much harder. Of course, it's dark, no light, nothing, inside primary forest. Then in between, if you stay a little bit, you will see warm water coming from the sides. And you can see the water, very clean water.
Drinkable?
No, because it immediately
With the mud.
with the one coming from the fall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so then at a point you see the crucifix of the what is it called of Mary, the statue of Mary. Catholic devotees
Going
doing
there.
the things. Then you see a lot of religious people
Going
doing
there.
their stuff as well in there as well.
Okay.
Then as you go further, the cave becomes much narrower, and it's just spectacular.
The sights to behold.
Oh
yeah?
no, it's a wonderful sight.
Okay.
So
that's
till you
for
get to
Ohum.
the end, that's for Ohum. Before you get to the end, by the time you get to the end of the cave, you see the water cascading, and there is no day you go there you won't see people at the bottom of the water.
Wow.
And by the time the distances, no matter how wet you are, by the time you leave that point to get to where you park your car, you're close to be dry. Number 9, for historical things, is Olumo Rock in Abeokuta, historical perspectives, because you just wonder whether the progenitors of the Egbas are pygmies, just a joke now, because they lived under the rock where the name Abeokuta came from, because it's not too high, you know. And when you listen to the tour guides, I think standing majestically on the Olumo Rock, you see the ancient city of Abeokuta with all the roofs and, you know. Then number 10, I'm cracking my brain now. Number 10 will be Ṣùgbọ́n Erédò in Lagos State, Epe. That's the largest monument on the surface of Africa. Nobody talks about it. The largest monument. If I'm to write everything down, the order of arrangements might change actually. The largest monument is in Epe, in primary forest, 160 kilometers long. The Benin moat is part of it. Why it was done, nobody knows, but it was, what is it called? The Queen of Sheba was buried in Okieri, very close to Ijebu-Igbo in Ogun State. And they linked the Ṣùgbọ́n Erédò to the Queen of Sheba. The Ṣùgbọ́n Erédò is a ditch about 6-9 meters deep, 160 kilometers long, about 3 meters wide, dug over 2,000 years ago when there was nothing mechanical. Nobody talks about it in Nigeria. Nobody knows where it is. For me, there's so many hidden treasures in this country, and it is high time
We start celebrating.
the communication company start tapping into this.
Okay.
You win any gift on any on their promo, they send you to Dubai. Instead of sending you to Obudu, sending you to Moambila, just to promote ourselves. We are talking about unemployment. You'll be amazed at the numbers of people that will be employed if all these things are tapped into. And there might probably not be area boys. The whole of Lagos Island is full of relics. Both slave relics, those that came back from Brazil, that settled, they're the first one to build proper houses. Most of those houses are still in existence.
So you did in your number 10, there was no Badagry, there's no Oshun.
No, those ones are the known ones. They are the known ones. Oshun, you know, that was why I said if I'm to write everything down, if I have a list of it, then I'll be able to tell you this is 1, 2, 3, 3. But the best of all, the most spectacular of all, is Mambila Plateau. Spiritually, if you're a spiritual person, you might tie it to the burial site of Queen of Sheba, who was mentioned in both the Bible and the Quran.
Interesting. I want to ask this question. You know, I observed that most of these places, these historical places, these nature-given places that we are blessed with, Nigerians tend to attach spiritual relevance to places like that, these historical places. Why is that so?
No disrespect. This is not something I should be saying on national telly. But the reason is this. One, anything a black man cannot explain becomes spiritual.
They attribute it to...
Yeah, something else. I mean, look, Delta State, for example, in Ubiaja, you have the source of the Ethiope River, the massive cotton tree. And Ethiope River is the third largest freshwater in Africa. Meanwhile, the source is from under a tree. And because we can't explain the source, we don't have science, nothing. Our education was given to us by the West, you know, and the West education was given to them by the Muslims, you know. So we attach importance to things we can't explain, and that is what happens to Ohum waterfall as well, because it's spectacular. They've never seen anything like that before. So the people in that area believes once you go to Ohum to wash yourself under the waterfall, any illness or whatever you have in you will disappear.
Interesting. Interesting. Obviously, we still have a lot to cover.
A lot.
We still have a lot to cover, so we'll beg you on national television that please, when we call on you, you avail us with your time and presence.
The only thing I have for Nigeria, the only thing I hold Nigeria now is my time. Anywhere, anytime my knowledge is needed, I will be very glad to
oblige us.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Good to have.
Yeah, and so viewers, I can't have enough of Dayo Adedayo, and I'm guessing you're feeling the same way. So God willing, we'll bring him on so that he can explain Nigeria away and tell us where we need to appreciate Nigeria. This is our country. We're going nowhere. As I said, it's a marriage. And on that note, I want to say thank you so much for staying tuned.